What's up, guys? Welcome back to The Question, where you have the questions and I have the answers. And today we are talking about world building in Sandman, and I guess by extension, Lucifer. But before we get started, I would just like to note that there will be spoilers for the Sandman comics, the Sandman TV show, the Lucifer comic series, and the Lucifer TV show to a certain extent. Also, all of my theories, plots, outlines did not come solely from me. This was a long 2-night ADHD fueled unraveling between me and my friend Avery. Avery is not in the video because unfortunately Avery lives in Los Angeles. But I have been told to go forth and spread this knowledge with the world, and that is what I intend to do. So for context, to begin, Sandman is a comic book series later adapted into a Netflix TV series by Neil Gaiman, who also wrote Coraline, Good Omens, American Gods, among other things, which looks at these beings he created called the Endless, who are the anthropomorphic personification of natural processes such as like death, delirium, destiny, despair, dream, and destruction. And it follows Dream of the Endless and basically him coming to terms with what he is, how he exists between humanity and himself. And we really get a look at how these endless, these anthropomorphic personifications of natural processes interact and hold power between their own realms, between cosmic realms, and between humanity. For those of you who don't know, Lucifer, which is a comic book series later adapted into a TV series, which then also found its way onto Netflix, is a spin-off of the Sandman universe. This is where we get into spoilers. When Lucifer says we're going to do something that is going to make God absolutely livid, they're not declaring war against Lucifer. They are literally quitting and going to run a nightclub in LA. And in the TV show, it becomes a kind of like cop romance, which does follow some key plot points from the comic series, how the comic series is way more similar and like asks a lot more philosophical questions and has a similar tone to the Sandman series rather than like a CW show. And in Lucifer, we get a better look at this in-between between the endless and humanity, and that is the divine beings. It is stated explicitly in Sandman Volume 4, I believe, that all mythologies, all religions, everything humans have ever believed is canon, is true within this universe. And so that creates a very interesting hierarchy, not hierarchy, but like web between the endless, the divine, and humanity, because they're all tied together and dependent on each other, and it's very unclear who has the most power, how does anything work, and so me and my friend Avery want to just sit down and like figure it all out, because I'm a religious studies major. We both have neurodivergent traits. We both have ADHD, so we're like, let's do this. And what really was my concern, I guess, was that in the Lucifer comic series, God, the Judeo-Christian God, is treated as the most powerful being, and all of his creations are the most powerful and more powerful than any other god, any other being, and they seem to dictate many of the rules which we see outlined in Sandman. Even in Sandman, both the comic book series and the TV series, Dream states that Lucifer is like the most powerful being to exist, even more so than the Endless, which to many audiences, and even to me, this seemed completely inconceivable, because, you know, Dream literally controls this whole majestic realm. And we know from volume 3 that Dream has reshaped and restarted the universe numerous times. And so it's like, how can this fallen angel be the most powerful person? How come the Silver City and Hell seem to be like two strongholds of this divine, cosmic, spiritual place if they are just as canon as every other divine being to ever be conceived by man? And so that's what led me down this path, because I was really concerned that like we were pushing this heavy, like all these things exist, but Judeo-Christian lore is just the most correct and the most powerful. And I was like, Mr. Gaiman, how could you do that to us? Because I believed in you, and I was really horrified at this prospect. But that's not the case. That's not the case, and here's why. Because everything is belief-based. Everything is based on belief. Just as the endless are based on belief. You know, Dream states that we exist because people know in their hearts that we exist. We only exist because people believe that we exist, and it's because of this that they can't really die. They can like regenerate, so like they're mortal for, because they exist. There are beliefs and they exist, but they also exist now that they are in being, exist as tangible physical material things, if that makes sense. It's like we gave birth to them, and now they're their own autonomous being, and they've created their own rules and processes and family dynamics, and they have their own society that we don't even know about. But we created them from our belief in them, but now they act independently of us to a degree. But that is true, I believe, with all of the divine beings. And here's how we got here. Here's how we got here. Because, you know, we have all these layers, and what really complicates things is that certain realms exist, and all these creation myths exist, and they're all said to be true, but they're all very contradictory. And, you know, then the endless exists, and then what really is the kicker is that Lucifer creates his own universe outside of God's universe, outside of our known universe, outside of God's universe. And it does not abide by any of the same rules that God's universe or our universe does. The endless don't exist there. They can't exist there. And immortals aren't really immortal there. No one has the same power that they are because no one believes in those things there. But it does, you know, but the way that it's phrased, the way everything is hinged upon is like, oh yeah, you know, God has no oversight because it's not God's universe, it's outside of God's universe. None of these rules work. So I'm like, wait, is God like controlling everything? You know, everything was planned by God, everything was known by God. Half of the struggle that Lucifer has is that every single thing he's ever done, the rebellion, quitting hell, all of it, even the creation of a new universe, was predestined and preordained by the Judeo-Christian God. And so I'm like, if everything is seen, as everything is known, is this the true God of the universe? Is this the definitive correct thing? And nothing can exist without him. And if so, when did he make all of these other gods? Why would he make these other divine beings? What about all the beliefs that other people on other planets, because it's implied that he created the entire universe, because the endless have existed for eons before humanity, and helped out and influenced and exist because living things exist, not just humanity exists, so they exist on other planets and they influence, everything. They've been here for so long, so then I was like, well, how long has God been there? And what brought him into creation? And, are we just like one planet in a long line of like trial and fail and like trial and error of planets until now he's here and he's just invested the most time and energy into us. And no, that's not the case. And to help me figure that out was Avery, who likened all of this and these whole social dynamics to a Discord server. He was like, okay, what if God is the server owner? So God like created everything, and then all of these minor gods or other gods are the server admin, and they can exist and they can leave the server whenever. But they're just like in charge of this, you know, because there's a hierarchy. There's a hierarchy exists where like this, you know, Judeo-Christian God attains the most power of all the other divine gods. And even maybe over the Endless, and that was part of why I was confused, because we're like, okay, all the other gods are subject to the Endless. However, the Judeo-Christian God is implied to be outside of that, and if anything, directly limit what they can do, because they can't exist outside of his universe. So the other gods are admin. They can create their own channels, and they can leave and go create their own servers. Then humanity, demons, angels, whatever, are the people within the server who are not admin. And then Avery said that the Endless were like bots, where they exist because we create them to exist. And that's about it, which isn't entirely correct. The analogy is not entirely correct. However, it was a good jumping off point to understand everything. And I think what really got me there is that God, the supposed creator of the universe, quits. And that's a big plot point later on in the Lucifer comic book series, is that God just packs up and leaves. Similar to Lucifer packing up and leaving hell. Hell still exists even though Lucifer is gone. God packs up and leaves the universe. Universe still exists even though God is gone. Similar to how destruction up and left his realm, people are still experiencing change, destruction, war, everything. Dream was kept from his realm, and people still dreamed. You know, people still fell asleep. Death quit her job for a bit. People still died and still went to the afterlife. And, you know, these things continue to happen even though the people who are in charge of them are no longer there. And that's when it all fit into place for me. Everything is controlled on belief, not just the Endless, all of the divine are. They exist because we believe them to exist. And now that they exist, they are their own autonomous beings with their own social hierarchy and their own systems, societies, and stuff that exist independently of us, aside from us being their creators. So, of course, angels and Lucifer and hell view the Judeo-Christian God as the one true creator, because he is their one true creator. That's what we believe to be true, and that's how they were created into existence, and that is true for them. God did create them, because in no other faith system do they exist. So God is their one true creator. That is true for them. However, these other gods exist, and it is hinted either or explicitly stated that they exist outside of the belief of the Judeo-Christian God. For example, in volume 1 of Lucifer comic book series, we interact a lot with the Navajo tradition and Navajo mythology, and there are beings that are stated to be older and more powerful and can affect the creation of God and God's creations. And, you know, when asked how is that even possible for these things to exist, Lucifer says that creation happened and we all remember it differently. And some communities remember it better than others. And so my theory, based on that and based on the fact that the divine's relationship with humanity and effect on humanity and vice versa is very similar to the endless, that a creation event did happen. Something did create the universe, and we do not know what it is. However, every single mortal remembers it differently and creates their beliefs off of them, and that is how these gods exist, because we believe them to exist. We believe that that's how that happened, and therefore now they do exist. And they all kind of have to like interact with each other in some weird system. And that just means that for whatever reason, from some battle that we don't know about, from something, when Judaism and Christianity and everything got all invented and was first thought of, people started believing in it, the Judeo-Christian God was made, heaven and hell were made, and they took over most of the power of these divine beings, which is why they seem to be the top of the hierarchy of all the divine. And maybe it's because they did have an army of angels and an army of demons who would fight for him. Maybe it's because so many people so quickly and so violently believed in it. I don't know. But somehow the Judeo-Christian God was able to amass enough social power and just divine cosmic power in general to become like the top of this hierarchy of divine. And when God eventually does quit and leave, there is that power vacuum that we see from all the other divine beings and other beings being like, okay, now he's gone, anybody can be in that top spot, including people who have existed for longer. And there are people who have existed for longer canonically, because one of the people who make a power play for the position of like top god of creation are Titans from the Greek and Roman mythologies. And they're like, yeah, we've existed for like millions of years or like thousands of years prior to his creation, to his existence. And now we're going to take what's rightfully ours and be in charge of everything. So it is all belief-based. And yeah, they have their own hierarchy system, which exists largely independent of humanity, and doesn't really affect us at all. And so I wanted to share that with you guys. Please let me know what you think. If you think I missed anything, if you think I'm just horribly wrong, please let me know. And yeah, have a great rest of your winter. Have a great, happy December. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes.